Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Aeris Resources Quarterly Activities Report presentation. I guess just to summarize the last quarter and the way we see things going forward, the last quarter was improvement on quarter one on both operations. We had additional tons and ounces. At Tritton, the costs were higher though, but we'll talk through those. The impact of COVID has affected the production profile at Tritton, as we had quite a few COVID cases, and we see that continuing. Although we've seen improved production, it's still specifically on the grade side at both operations below our expectations, and we have adjusted our guidance, which you would have seen if you have read the quarterly, but we'll talk in more details around the guidance. The growth side of the business is unaffected. All projects we're working on is well funded with $77 million cash in the bank, but also they on track to be delivered. And really the transition at Tritton from out of Tritton and Murrawombie into new operations, specifically at Constellation, Budgerygar and Avoca Tank, will make a huge difference going forward, and we'll see the changes in the growth profile coming up from 23 onwards. I'll jump into the presentation and I'll take questions at the end. But really, to summarize the last quarter, Cracow had better production and lower cost, so a really good quarter for Cracow, although, as I said, still below expected grade. The strategy at Cracow remains to push tons, and that way allowing us to mine lower grades and still hit the numbers we're looking for. And that way, that's the reason why the guys had a new record of 169,000 tons for the quarter through the process plant. We have, as I discussed before, Broad Roses Pride, that development commenced, that's underway. And you would have seen we had a separate announcement today, specifically around exploration. Now, we've had Cracow now for 18 months, and Brad and the geology team at Cracow has done an amazing job to further understand the potential, and we had some really exciting results and potential new structures, new veins and extensions to Cracow, and that's why we thought putting that out. I know it's quite a technical document. I'm not a technical guy, but I think it's more about we really change the way we look at exploration at Cracow and really focus on where do we find the next big new discovery, and we'll talk a bit more about it. At Tritton, the tons is up, the cost is higher, and the factor of that is purely the dollar per pound is because of lower production than we targeted, and the reason for the change in guidance is because of the first 6 months at Tritton. What we have seen at Tritton, though, is COVID is impacting. We got quite a few cases every day, so that does impact manning. But we see that to filter through in the next 2 months, and we should be back to normal. The exciting part is Budgerygar. We've got the first development ore out of Budgerygar, and so Budgerygar production will come in within this financial year. You would have seen the resource estimate, and look, Constellation keeps on delivering the results. We've got the first mineral resource estimate out at 47,000 tons, and I can also say the indicative metallurgical test work which we've done came up with some really good results for all the oxide. Good recoveries, 90% around that sort of number for recoveries out of heap leach. Out of the supergene, that can go through the process plant. It will easily go through the flotation circuits at Tritton. Similar recoveries around 90%. And then the sulfides is nothing different to what we've seen, and we expect very good recoveries from those. So the bottom line is we can also potentially treat some of the high grade oxide or through the Tritton plant and still get fairly good recovery. So there's hope for Constellation, and that ore body will become a 10 million ton ore body, and you know that will be a significant extension of mine life. Avoca Tank, which is the second underground mine we're bringing online, that decline is 567 meters down, on time and on budget at this point in time. On the corporate side, cash and receivables ended up higher by $2.8 million at 77.8, and that's once again why I say that the investment part of the growth plan is well funded. We did some gold hedging. Ms. Sylvia Wiggins has joined the board, so we've had some restructuring at the board level where Mr. Alistair Morrison stepped down, and Ms. Sylvia Wiggins has joined the board. We are committed to organic growth. As I said, we have spent 21 million, nearly $22 million in this quarter. That's on the growth side. So far this half, the first half, we spent nearly $34 million. So cash flow from operations plus cash in the bank is funding the transition at Tritton, but also funding the growth at Cracow as we move forward. On the ESG side, we had one lost time injury at Cracow. Unfortunate, a fitter injured his right shoulder whilst removing wheel nuts. On the environmental side, we had significant amount of rain around Cracow. The positive side of it, it hasn't really impacted production, but we had some water, and water management has become quite a bit of a challenge for us. So we had a sediment pond overflowing because of the high rainfall. Nothing serious out of that. Golden Plateau, which is an open pit, has reached managed reporting level, so we are managing water around site, but there's no issues around it. COVID, at Cracow, COVID has not had any impact yet. We test people before they get on flights, and if they do test positive, they go home. So we have seen minimal impact. At Tritton, though, where it's a drive-in, drive-out site, when families go into isolation, workforce do the same, and we had some cases at the mine. So that has impacted crew numbers, which then impacted production volumes, specifically in December, and we're seeing that continuing into December and February. As always, we continue reviewing and update the protocols according to the government guidelines. On the sustainability side, we have released our report, which you've seen. We have now specifically identified 4 areas which we'll focus on to work through in the next 12 months. And from the community side, we just gone through a great festive season, and both operations had a huge impact by trying to be part of the festive season, specifically around the 24-hour, 24/7 work arrangements. And as always, we value the community and the people around our mines. The highlights for Tritton, the production improvement over the quarter, but the plant still, the grade is still lower than what we expected. And as I already said, COVID, what we have done is we've taken the first 6 months into account. We've taken into account the potential of the next 2 months. And we've changed the strategy at Tritton from, we've always had the strategy, let's drive tons, get the plant full. But what that resulted in the last 6 months, or specifically the last 3 months, we've seen significant increase in costs without achieving those additional tons. So Ian, the COO, and the team at Tritton has relooked at the plans. Down at the bottom of Tritton, there is higher grade stopes. So the idea is to drop the tons, pick up the grade at Tritton, and that way cut out significant costs. We've had higher equipment in to try to get to the volumes, and we're dropping those costs out over the next 3 to 6 months. So there's a lot of cost reduction initiatives. The idea is drop the tons, maintain the grade, and we've reviewed the guidance to 18,500 tons to 19,500 at about $460 to $485 per pound all-in sustaining cost. That all said, that mine still generates cash at those levels. There's still significant margin at the current copper price with the cash in the bank. The life extension plans for Avoca Tank, Budgerygar, Murrawombie Pit is all untouched and well on track to be delivered to go in the transition from Tritton. At Cracow, the strategy there, operation strategy, remains to push tons, which enables us to drop the cut-off grade a little and then get volume at a lower grade to deliver on the tons. Now, the first 6 months, we have seen lower than expected grades. What we have seen is as soon as you move outside the core or some of the stopes, the grade drops out faster than what we expected. Brad and the geology team has worked on that to better understand the relationship between grade and as you move out into the peripheries. We got a much better understanding. We are seeing that Cracow will do better ounces in the next 6 months. All-in sustaining costs will be maintained at a dollar basis. It's very well controlled at the mine level. So we'll see better production in the next 6 months and a better cost position, but still taking the first 6 months into account, cash costs will come in at $100 higher than the previous guidance, about $1,650 to $1,700. Going into Tritton, Tritton is all about growth. It's all about this transition from Tritton, Murrawombie into all those other projects. What we have seen though in the last 3 months, Murrawombie, where we previously had Murrawombie underground will run out in early 2023. The exploration which has been done in the hanging wall has shown us that that will extend. So we're now looking at Murrawombie going into 2024 as an underground mine, which then bring in Budgerygar, Avoca Tank. The work the guys are doing is to bring the open pit online while we keep the underground going. So that work is done, is underway. And then you bring Constellation in and you'll see, when you look at that, there's a 10-year mine life when you start to string all those together. So a lot of work is being done on Constellation. Kurrajong will start to do some drilling. And then you've got this whole pipeline moving away from low-grade Tritton underground and to higher and better grades in both copper and gold. We'll talk about Avoca Tank, Murra and Budgerygar a bit coming in the next few slides. We look at Budgerygar. So this is where Budgerygar sits. You can see Tritton. So we're mining Tritton down the bottom at fairly low grades. We have now released the mineral resource or updated the mineral resource for Budgerygar, which has seen additional tons. The grade profile has been held and we see 2.5 million tons at 1.5%, with the indicated resource sitting at 1.7, and there's gold in there as well. So the development is there. We've seen the first development all coming out. Production out of Budgerygar will officially start in Q4. We'll see officially stope tons coming out. We're targeting eventually to get Budgerygar up to 400,000 to 500,000 tons on an annual basis. And that's basically displacing the lower grade out of Tritton Deeps. Very exciting. It still remains open. You can see our Tritton just continued at depth. There's no reason why we believe this can't. It needs to be tested. It's already been tested 750-meter down plunge, but it remains open. So once you get in there, we'll start to drill and test the deeper part of Budgerygar, which will be very exciting. Avoca Tank, there's a 700,000 ton at 2.5%. So currently we're mining Tritton at 1.1% copper. So bringing in 2.5% plus very good gold grades will make a huge difference in the production profile. It remains open. We are putting some deep holes in to test it at depth. The decline, the contractor is doing a great job. It's made good progress and on plan at 567 meters to date. All the major approvals is in place, including the mining lease. So there's nothing which should stop us from starting production in the first ore targeted in Q4 FY23. And then we're looking at the Murrawombie pit cutback. There's a reserve there of 1.6 million tons at 0.9% copper. We have done the first round of pit designs. We're now optimizing it to see if we can get the grades. So we're targeting higher grades than what's in the reserve, and there is higher grade potential. We will go out on tender in this quarter we're in. And strategically, we're looking at the strategy there with the guys because Tritton Underground keeps extending. We do not want to get out of the underground while we're doing the open pit, and the guys has come up with ways to do both at the same time, which then will put a lot of tons on deck. The plant will be pushed to full capacity of probably 1.8 million tons while you've got all these additional tons and the tons from all your other operations. So we can then drop out the low margin tons out of Tritton in the deep side of Tritton. Constellation, look, this is an amazing story that has been, and it keeps growing. The maiden resource for the first 200 meters. So that's focused on the open pit mine, 3.3 million tons at 1.4% copper. In there, there's a supergene zone of 500,000 at 3.4% copper for 18,000 tons of copper metal, and indicated mineral resource on the sulfide primary of 1.4. So there's significant tons. It's a low cost pit to get into, good grades, which will generate quick cash going forward. And as I said earlier, the recoveries from the metallurgical test work has shown that, you know, it's 90% recoveries plus. So there's no reason why this open pit strategy before we go underground should not be expedited as fast as we can to bring that into the production profile as quickly as possible. And the optimization of the pit studies is underway. What we've also done is we looked at what has been done in the primarily the deeper side below the pit and put a exploration target of 6 to 8 million tons at between 1.7 and 2.2% copper. Now, you know, you look at what's in the open pit, you look at that target, that's a 10 million ton ore body plus at very good grades, including very good gold grades in a lot of these intersections. These are just some of the latest results. As I said, it keeps growing, it keeps getting better. You can see on the image on the right-hand side, those EM plates does extend. We're busy doing some more EM work to see what happens further down. We now got it already traced 1,000 meters deep, and we're still going further to see what else is there. The whole aim now is to drill it out to a position where we can actually define a resource on this deeper part. The challenge we have, though, is the drilling is going really well. The turnaround of samples is probably 2 months behind, so we'll only see a resource coming out probably in Q4. We aim for Q3, but really it's only driven by the sampling and the assays turnaround time at this point in time. Now, Cracow, we've had Cracow now for 18 months. Brad and the team has challenged themselves on the geology, trying to understand the structures, trying to relook at different ways of looking at this at Cracow. But we've seen some exciting recent developments. But what we've also seen is just from some of the resources we already know, and we've started to put life of mine plans together, we can see that there's a 4 year plus underground opportunities just from the Western Field. Now the Western Field, you can see there's already in production. There's a whole bunch of bigger ore bodies, Bass, Roses, Pride, Coronation, Royal, and Sovereign, which will come into production over the next bit. You suddenly see, you know, when we bought Cracow 18 months ago, the view was there's underground life, but we need to work and spend the money. It's starting to pay off. We can see an extension of that underground life. And then Golden Plateau is the only one on that list, which is not in a resource at this point in time. And you'll see the slides coming up. Some of the drilling we've done, very exciting. We've actually busy expediting that as a project to see how quickly we can bring Golden Plateau into production. So the exciting part is we're starting to see that Cracow has got life, specifically around the underground. The model of pushing tons is working. It's about managing costs and then getting a strategy to look at the exploration side. Then is find the next big deposit. So what the guys has done is they broke the field up in 3 areas. You got the Western Vein Field is basically where we're currently mining. You got the Southern Vein Field, which is under a bit of cover, and they trialed an MT survey over that area, and he's identified 6 new priority targets. Very exciting stuff. It's never been done before. It can see over 1,000 meters deep, and the guys are really excited about those new targets. Then the Eastern Field is where Golden Plateau is, and there's a drive there to get the exploration there and bring that into production. On the Western Field, we have seen extensions of the current underground workings. The guys did a development drive and found a new fault, the Enigma fault, and there's a lot of potential in there, and there's a lot of excitement around how does that look, what does that mean, is that new, how do we move that forward? And of course, we spoke about Ballymore target before, is part of how we look at the Western Field. Going a little bit more, so Golden Plateau, you can see some of those results in the drilling. This has been a mine which has delivered a lot of tons over, or ounces over its life. It used to be an open pit. We're drilling that out. You can see some of those results: 4 meters at 19%, 19 gram a ton, and 5 meters at 5. Good results. We're doing a follow-up drill program to commence that focus and creating more targets. But Ian and the team has put together a group to look at a PFS. So we'll start a PFS to put that into a production plan and an exploration plan to bring that into a production profile going forward. Then looking for the next big thing, that southern vein where the empty survey has been done and the 6 new targets. This has never been done at the mine. The guys, there's a lot of excitement at what they see. We'll do some more work and we'll do some drilling going forward, but this can become a very large potential new discovery. Then we got Ballymore in the Western Field, very encouraging results. And this is just part of the exploration. The guys will keep looking at the historical drilling. There's evidence of epithermal veins. All the pathfinder elements are there. So he's really looking at how does that extend. And the Enigma fault, we'll probably start to talk a lot more about it. It's fairly new, but a lot of excitement around that. Can become quite a long, big extension to the Tritton, to the Cracow underground. I guess if I can summarize the 2 operations, although they had a bit of a challenge in the last 6 months, growth is still where the focus lies. A lot of good work's been done by the teams at the mines to look at the operations and cost and production. But really, as I said, it's moving forward on the growth. At a corporate level, we closed the quarter with 2.8 million more in the bank at 77.8 between cash and receivables. We talked about hedging, so we still got some copper hedging rolling off, and we put some gold hedging in place at 25.38, which is basically close to current spot. And as I said earlier, Ms. Silva Wiggins has joined the board in October. On the M&A space, we always talk about it. We do believe that growth is both from new opportunities, M&A space, and organic growth is where the future lies. We see a good base from organic side of both operations, but we are actively looking for opportunities in copper and gold and base metals. Australia project stage, we like operations. We think we can work on it, but we're also starting to look at development projects and also things which can bolt on to the current operations. I guess in summary, FY22 to date, it had its challenges. We have put plans in place to manage those. At Tritton, we're confident that the production profile can be maintained to what we've seen. Getting the cost, taking some costs out with the new strategy of going for quality grade versus tons. It makes sense. Managing COVID, the guys are doing a great job to manage COVID at both operations, but unfortunately, at Tritton, it does have posing some challenges. But the Dave and the team there is monitoring that and putting plans in place. Life extensions is still where everything lies, and exploration is being delivered at both operations. Looking at the forecast, we talked about the revised guidance. We will keep on investing in the life extension projects, and specifically at Tritton, those life extension projects is the pathway to higher metal production, and we should start to see as Budgerygar and Avoca tanks coming online in 2023, we should start to see production going up from where we are today. Obviously, Constellation is a no-brainer. We'll always keep the focus on there and start to bring that forward as fast as we can, and delivering specifically at Tritton on those new strategies on production and cost. At Cracow, the team there is a lot more stable. COVID hasn't impacted. We are spending the exploration dollars. You can see what I just talked about on exploration. There's so much opportunities. So it's about managing the dollars, but managing where it goes into. That life of mine plan review, the life of mine plan is now being put in place. It's constantly under review because there's new opportunities coming up as we drill and explore some of these things. And as I said, Golden Plateau, the PFS project has been launched, and we're trying to see, get the drilling in place, get the resource in place, and bring that into a production plan as quickly as we can. So I guess that's sort of the summary for the quarter. I'm very excited about the future. I'm really excited about the capacity of us to fund the future, and those projects specifically at Tritton, which will give us that increased production profile, is where we need to focus. Thank you very much.